Hey, scrappy people. Tracy Reed here today with a layout using the Cocoa Daisy Sundrenched Collection. This is my fourth layout using this collection, so I've got lots of scraps left, and I decided to work with them by creating a fun square, not quilted, but lots and lots of patterned squares page here. So I'm cutting down a bunch of squares to 1.75 by 1.75 inches. So I'm going to have 6 rows of 6, and by not cutting them to 2 by 2, it gives me room in between each square for there to be, a border background. So as I place them down, I am concentrating on making sure that the patterns aren't like close together. So the grid pattern, if it is, on the top row there, I want to make sure that the next grid pattern I put down is a little bit farther away. So that's just kind of my thought process while I'm putting things down. A lot of these patterns look similar, so I'm making sure that like the black and white ones are also nicely spaced apart, as well as the newsprint ones, just so that there is an even balance of pattern and color on this page distributed throughout. So I am also going to ink the edges of each and every one of these squares. This layout is definitely a labor of love, but in the end it ended up being so worth it. It is one of my favorite layouts that I made with this collection because it was just a fun way to get out some creativity without like holding myself to a particular style or what I normally do. I wanted to think outside the box. So I'm just taking my ink pad and inking every single one of these squares, and then I'm just going to use some adhesive and I'm going to stick them all down, and I will do that off camera because they're going to end up in the same place that they were when I put them down. So I'm going to ink the outside edge of the layout too, because why not? And I will also be inking the outside edges of a lot of these papers just so everything kind of goes together and looks right. Look how pretty that already is. I don't want to cover any of it up. So I'm going to double mat my photo, and it's going to be a little bit wonky. So because we have all of these straight lines with the squares in the background, and I'm using more squares with this photo and both mats, I'm going to mat it a little wonky so that there's a little bit of movement on the page and it's not quite so boring. When I make grid pages, what I like to say I do is smash the grid. So first I build the grid, then I smash the grid. And how I do that is by overlapping things on the grid so that they are not, nothing stays in this perfect grid. And I think that that adds a lot of visual interest to these more linear pages and makes them a lot more fun to look at. I'm going to pop up my photo on foam tape because I want to get some height off of this page. And then I'm going to have to deal with the fact that I used foam tape for the rest of the layout. That is one thing about using foam tape, is that once you use foam tape, now everything that you put on top of the thing that has the foam tape has to be foam taped too, or at least anything that hangs off the edges. So I'm going to put this right up here in this corner, but I want to add some things down towards the bottom too, just to make it interesting. I think I'm going to do like 2 clusters on this page, 2 main clusters on this page. I want to add in some of this black ink, a little bit more of this black ink. Since I've inked everything, I want to add in a little bit more. So I'm going to take this pattern stamp kind of a thing, and I'm going to take the black ink and I'm going to make photo corners for this page, or for the photos, but underneath the photo. It's just little touches that I think make this whole thing a lot more interesting. Of course, I decided to do this after I've stuck it down with foam tape because that's how I roll. I'm going to do all 4 corners. I thought I was only going to do 2, but I decided to do all 4 corners. And I don't want them to be perfect. I want it to be a little offset and wonky. So I'm really glad that I had already decided that, because this one gets real wonky. Oof. But actually it mostly gets covered up too. You just kind of get the impression of it. And then when I start embellishing, it'll get covered up even more. I'm going to move this up a little bit, I guess. Foam tape is less forgiving than ATG tape. Okay, so now to start building the composition. There's so much pattern going on this page, obviously, that I'm not going to use a lot of the rub-ons because I think that they'll just get lost in translation. So I'm going through the rest of everything else. I'm going to use those patterned circles just to add some circles to this page where there's so many squares. And now I'm going to add a rectangle, 2 rectangles. I'm going to do this and I'm going to incorporate it into my title. So it's going to stick right underneath this photo. And then I'm going to stick this other journaling card down here, coming up from the bottom, and that's going to be the one where I add my actual journaling. I'm going to rearrange these a little bit because, well, that's not going to work. But I'm going to rearrange these a little bit because they were a little repetitive with the black and white florals. So I moved the black and white floral underneath the card itself so that it wouldn't be repetitive visually. There we go. Now I decide after I put everything down that I'm going to ink these edges as well. And then these two. Make these a little bit messier, a little bit more inked up to sort of feed off of those photo corners. Perfect. Now I can start adding in the embellishments. So I'm going to cut this off the bottom, re-ink the bottom. I love how it's tilted and it goes off the bottom. I think that's a fun way to break the grid. Then I'm going to build up my title on this card. I'm just going to add to it with letter stickers. But this was like at the point where I had used up a lot of this collection other than the rub-ons, and since I couldn't really use the rub-ons on this page very well, I was kind of stretching myself for ideas on how to embellish this page because so much of this collection is florals and hummingbirds and things like that, and those were already so represented on my page that I didn't have a lot to choose from. Now these buttons are so handy. They've come in handy on so many of the pages that I've used or that I've made using this collection. So I'm going to use them here as well, incorporating them with the chipboard pieces and other larger buttons. And again, that adds circles to this page, which makes it more interesting visually. I will end up stitching them all down, which you'll see in the finished page, but for now I'm just going to use glue to make them stick so that they don't fly around too much. You can see I'm kind of using them like I would use enamel dots, just as accent pieces. Super cute. Amazing how button placement can be so involved. But I'm trying to use most of them too. I think I end up using almost all of them. Perfect. All right. Now I'm going to, add a couple of die cuts because I had a couple sitting around that I thought would work. First is the hummingbird up there, and I like the way that he's sort of pointing to the this, which will end up being the title. I wanted to include this dragonfly, but I don't end up including dragonflies. But dragonflies are kind of special to my dad, and we took this photo for my dad who was in the hospital. Well, we were in Hawaii, which sounds terrible, but my dad's been in and out of the hospital for months now, fighting off a bunch of things. And so we took this photo because we are rarely all together since we live I live across the country from them. And so I wanted to incorporate that dragonfly, but I just couldn't make him work. I did end up adding a few of these black word strips. So it says "this time with family" on the title part, and so I'm going to add these yellow stickers to say "enjoying this time with family." Hooray, I like the title. Now I have to finish embellishing all of these, figure out where everything's going to go. Again, I'm struggling with the fact that they're all florals. I love these glittery ones though. Ugh, glitter stickers are my favorite thing ever. I got glitter stickers in a couple of the Cocoa Daisy collections recently. They are in the creative kit and I really like them. None of that's gonna work there. None of that. Oh, I'm gonna add one of these. Yes. I need more underneath the photo. I ended up moving that one though. Da-na-na-na. I love watching this indecisive process. I leave it in there because it's just how it goes, and I feel like it's more relatable if I leave the indecision in there because sometimes I'm just indecisive. Ooh, I like that black flower up there. Some of these make really good like photo corner-like things, so I'm going to put them on the corners of some of these squares. One more. Can I make this one work? Dun, 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 dun. No. No, I can't. I'm going to take some of the watercolor splashes, I guess, and I'm going to use them underneath some of these photos and the journaling cards. Like I had watercolored underneath them before I put them down. It's a really subtle touch, but I like it because, again, we're using things that bridge the gap and make this grid a little less stringent. Where can I put this one? Where can I do it? There we go. Of course, I have to peel up a sticker to do it, but you know me, I'm willing to peel up anything. I wish that I put things down like in order of how they had to go on the page, but my brain just doesn't function that way. Like I just keep adding and adding, and even if it has to go under something that I've already put there, I'm gonna use it. So I'm gonna add these die cut tags or tabs to the photos up here just to give it a little bit more height, and then I can take these word strips or some word strips and put them on there. I'm gonna use the I need more. And then I'm also going to pull one from the sticker sheets, a different one because the clear ones there weren't any more words on the clear ones that made sense. So we're going to do this one, and I'm going to trim it down to the appropriate size for that tab. Look at me, reading them all. Okay, I found one. This one says favorite moment. Oh no, what does it say? Favorite something. Favorite snapshot. Aha. So I just made it a little bit thinner so that it would fit on that tab better. Cute. We are almost done. Just need to add in a few more things for some interest. I'm gonna have to pop this up on foam tape because, again, gotta deal with all the foam tape when you have anything popped up on foam tape. The rest of it needs to be supported too. I'm going to put this floral in the corner here, and I'm going to do it in such a way that I don't have to pop it up on foam tape because I'm lazy. Okay. I did like the idea of it underneath that photo, but there was so much like green space in the photo that I couldn't not cover it up. So I do go ahead and add in a few strips of this black washi tape, and I did like it, but because of the black word strips on the page, when I was done putting down this washi tape, I felt like it was just too much like linear black pieces on this page. So I do end up taking them off before I take the pictures because I didn't like the way that it looked. But I really do like this black washi tape. I think it's a really cool and versatile design, so I'll probably be using it somewhere else at some other time. But it's very usable. So once I get all those pieces down, I finally find a place to put this dragonfly in, which made me so happy because, like I said, I really wanted to incorporate that dragonfly, and he goes perfectly right here. And then I felt like the card at the bottom didn't quite stand out enough, so I'm going to add this documented tag up here at the top. And then I'm going to take the same concept and I'm going to add one of these other tags where I'm going to cut off this let's go. And I'm going to do it on the side of this journaling card so that it kind of pops out the side. I didn't want there to be any let's go on it. And also it was very stuck down, so I just trimmed all that off. But that is it for this video. If you enjoyed it, I'd love it if you give it a thumbs up. If you're new here, go ahead and subscribe. I would love to have you. If you don't already, you can follow me over on Instagram. I'm at Tracy M. Reed. I'd love to see you over there as well. There is a link to Cocoa Daisy in the description box below if you're interested in starting a subscription. And I will see you next time. Thank you.